and Murray Walker.
Well, the weather hasn't improved. In fact, the rain is absolutely hammering down as you look at Ayrton Senna sitting in his McLaren in pole position. He's the luckiest man on the grid because at least when the rain starts, when he sprints down to La Source, the first hairpin, which is only 100 yards or so from where he's sitting, he will have a clear track in front of him. The start of this race, which is supposed to be in 5 minutes, in about 5 minutes, I'm given to understand, is going to be absolutely critical to the development of it. I know I said that in Hungary, and I always say it about the Monaco Grand Prix, but the same thing applies here, because when the drivers leave the grid that they're on now, and you can see that they are actually assembled on a corner, they need 2 sets of lights here to get the grid away, because the people in the front of the grid can see the set that is there, but the people at the back could not see them if there was only 1 set of lights, so they install a second one. They sprint down to La Source, the right-hander, and there is very often here, as there is very often at Monaco, an almighty pile-up. Let's hope there isn't one today, but the situation is going to be compounded by the fact that the cars in front will be throwing up an enormous amount of spray, making visibility virtually impossible. And as I just said, Ayrton Senna is in a commanding position. He has an unbounded amount of courage and determination. Alain Prost, who's leading the World Championship by 14 points, needs to win this race just as much as Ayrton Senna does if he, Prost, is to get his 3rd World Championship before he leaves McLaren, which he's going to do at the end of the season. But behind the 2 McLarens that you can see in the foreground now, there is Gerhard Berger, who's yet to score any World Championship points this year, but is 3rd on the grid and was 4th fastest in the half-hour warm-up this morning. He's in 3rd position on the grid. Thierry Boutsen, obviously, there you see the board going up, which says 3 minutes. 3 minutes to the start of the 44-lap, 189.7-mile Belgian Grand Prix. And Thierry Boutsen, it's his 100th Grand Prix. It's happening in his home country. He's the hero of Belgium because he won the Canadian Grand Prix, and he will be trying just as hard as everybody else to win here in Belgium, possibly harder. Now, I mentioned to you earlier on that both Martin Brundle and Stefano Modena had gone off on the assembly lap in Brabham Judds, and I wondered what was going to be happening about the spare car and who would be in it. Well, the answer is that Martin Brundle is going to be starting from 20th on the grid in the T car, that's the spare car, and the Brundle car has been repaired for Stefano Modena, who is going to start from the pit lane. Now, that is especially tragic for him because I was actually sticking my neck out earlier today and forecasting Modena as a possible winner because he's 8th on the grid. He's absolute mustard in the wet, uses his head, changes up early and all that sort of thing in order to make the conditions work for him as much as possible. And he is, as are the other Pirelli runners, going to be on these soft qualifying slick tyres grooved for the rain. And Pierluigi Martini proved that they work in the half-hour warm-up this morning. You can see there is Stefano Modena. They've done a quick job on the rear suspension because when Martin Brundle came in this car, and of course the numbers have been changed from 7 for Brundle to 8 for Modena, when Martin came in, the left rear wheel was right off the ground, the right front was right off the ground because the balance of the car had been disturbed. So the Brabham team under Sergio Rinland have done a great job to get Modena back into the race, and he will be starting, as you can see, from the pit lane. So Honda V6 engines for the Honda V10 engines for the McLarens, and I wonder if the Ferrari automatic gearbox, 7-speed, semi-automatic rather, operated by those levers under the steering wheel, is going to be a boon to the drivers in these conditions. I suspect it will. That's René Arnoux on the left, number 25, or was very much higher up the grid than he usually is these days, in 17th position. He's driven very well in practice. Now you're going to see them get away and pay particular attention to the short distance there is before the right-hander, the famous right-hander, second gear, about 70 miles an hour at La Source. They're coming up to it now. Imagine this if it were the start, because this is only the assembly lap. Now this is La Source with Ayrton Senna leading the way round. Now they drop downhill. You can see the low cloud over the Ardennes, the very heavily pine-forested Ardennes hills. They go down here at about 160 miles an hour into Eau Rouge when it's dry. They won't actually be going all that much slower. Now that in the wet, they start to climb now up Le Radaillon, which is the longest straight section of the course, and in ideal conditions they'll be doing about 180 miles an hour. As they come up to Kemmel, you're looking back through Eau Rouge now to the famous pits of Spa for the sports car race, because the Grand-Pri pits are in a different position. And here we are at Les Combes, the right-hander. This is the highest point of the course. They go right, left, and right again. Having turned off the Malmedy road, they drop down towards Rivage, the right-hander. And that is Gerhard Berger, third on the grid, the very popular Austrian, going round Rivage. Still dropping downhill in the valley, heavy woods on the left, fairly open ground on the right. Into the left-hander, which is third gear in racing conditions. Now they're approaching the awe-inspiring double left-hander at Le Bouillon, fourth gear at about 135 miles an hour. Then they change up into fifth gear, doing about 160 miles an hour. Drop down to the right-hander, the Luxembourg corner, and that is Thierry Boutsen, fourth in the grid in the V10 Renault-powered Williams. Luxembourg, and then after Luxembourg, the left-hander at Les Fagnes. Here they are. Down to the lowest part of the course, that is Riccardo Patrese, that was Nigel Mansell, this is Gerhard Berger. Boutsen going round the Rome corner. Now the Liège corner, and they start here to rejoin the old full Spa circuit, because originally the Spa lap was some 14 miles long, but was shortened to its present 4.3 miles. You can see there is the Liège road in the background, and it was shortened from some 14 to some 4 miles because the weather conditions were so dangerous. Now they're up into sixth gear, or would be in racing conditions, as you look at Mauricio Gugelmin, Derek Warwick there in 10th position on the grid, followed by Cappy in the Dallara. They're up now Longchimont and approaching what is called the bus stop. It's a chicane. They go left, right, tiny little short straight, then right, left out of it to complete the lap. As you look at Patrese. And here is the Derek Warwick going through, Philippe Alliot. And of course, these wet, inclement conditions close the performance gap up a lot. The McLarens are not going to be able to use their superior Honda power nearly as much as they have been able to at some of the circuits this year. Ayrton Senna, of course, a rainmaster, if ever there was one. The first Grand Prix he won was in Portugal in 1985 in conditions which were, if anything, even worse than this, and he was driving for Lotus then. There goes Boutsen through the picture. Riccardo Patrese, who has to be a favourite for this race. He's using the dry settings on his Williams Renault that he used to achieve his fifth position on the grid yesterday. Now, you see what I mean about the grid being assembled on a corner. There's Emanuele Pirro, the Onyx there, going through. Johnny Herbert in the Tyrrell, René Arnoux in the blue Tyrrell. On the left is Ivan Capelli in the March. On his right is Martin Brundle. Now, remember, this could be the most important few seconds of the race. 44 laps. Senna gets away well. Berger gets away well. Cross falls in behind Senna. So it's Senna, goes onto the grass, rejoins. Berger is third. Mansell goes up into fourth position already. Mansell has already gained 2 places, gone over the curb, rejoined. Senna will now use the opportunity with a clear circuit in front of him to try to build a gap between himself and Prost. And look at the visibility problems they've got, as it's Berger third, Mansell in fourth position. Ayrton Senna leading from pole position, followed by his teammate Alain Prost. Now up towards the Les Combes. You can see the woods on the right and left. And Ayrton Senna will be giving it everything that he and the McLaren and the Honda engine behind him have got. And you can see that he's already got quite a little gap between himself and Alain Prost, as the Brazilian world champion of 1988 leads the Belgian Grand Prix. Alain Prost comes out of the murk and the gloom. Just imagine what it's like sitting in the car. And there, that's Arnoux gone off. And Alliot has gone off. And Briard just misses him. And Alboreto goes through, but René Arnoux has spun off, rejoins the circuit, and is passed by Sala in the Minardi. So there's already problems on the first lap, and I'm quite sure we're going to see a few more people going off in this Belgian Grand Prix. Meantime, still on lap 1, Ayrton Senna coming down towards Rome, the right-hander now, third gear, about 110 miles an hour, even in these conditions. And you can see that Gerhard Berger is right on the tail of Alain Prost in second position. And where is Nigel Mansell? There he is, that's the answer. And behind Mansell, it is the 2 Williams cars, Thierry Boutsen and Riccardo Patrese. So, Ayrton Senna leads on lap 1, followed by Alain Prost. Berger in third position, Nigel Mansell in fourth place, up towards the bus stop now. Third gear, left, right, right, left. Senna. And Berger is already pressuring Alain Prost. He knows that if he can get past Prost, he can attack Senna. And if he can't, he's going to be held up. So Senna goes through, leading at the end of lap 1. Then it's Alain Prost. They're coming down to La Source now. And Berger will be driving practically blind, with the spray coming up from Alain Prost's rear wheels. 43 laps to go. Plunging downhill towards Eau Rouge, that tremendously spectacular part of the Spa-Frankorsham circuit. There's the V12 Ferrari, and that is Nigel Mansell, who has gained 2 places. In 5th position behind Mansell is Boutsen, 6th is Patrese, 7th is Nannini, 8th is Derek Warwick, 9th is Gugelmin, and in 10th position is Alex Caffey. So Derek Warwick has already, like Nigel Mansell, gained 2 places on the first lap. Les Combes, the highest point of the course. Ayrton Senna with that cool, calculating mind of his. And he's just gone round in 2 minutes 27.4 seconds, compared with his pole time of 1 minute 50.8. So it's nearly 38 seconds slower in these conditions than it was in the dry and pleasant conditions that we had for qualifying yesterday afternoon. Now look at the puddles all around the circuit. They're on very heavy treaded tyres now, what are called wet tyres. You can see the grooves in them as Senna comes up and through Les Combes, now down towards the Rivage. This is it. There's the gap. Now at the end of the first lap, Ayrton Senna was 2.6 seconds ahead of Alain Prost, having gone round 2.6 seconds, obviously, faster than Prost. Now, can the little Frenchman do anything about closing the gap? It's Senna, Prost, Berger, Mansell, Boutsen and Patrese, the first 6. And already it is fair to say that if Ayrton Senna can keep this up, he's got victory in the Belgian Grand Prix very much within his grasp, having already won 4 Grand Prix this year: San Marino, Monaco, Mexico and Germany. Lap 2 completed. Ayrton Senna leads. Now, what's the gap between himself and Prost? What's the gap between Prost and Berger? You can see, well, the gap between Senna and Prost has increased to 3.8 seconds. And the problem, and Mansell is closer to Berger than he was. Boutsen is still in 5th position, Patrese is 6th, Nannini is 7th, Derek Warwick is in 8th position, and Maurizio Gugelmin is 9th, followed by Cappy 10th. Emanuele Pirro in the Benetton is in 11th place, Stefan Johansson is 13th, and Johnny Herbert is in 13th place, having started 16th in the Tyrrell. And we're on lap 3. Looking down now from the helicopter, it is our misfortune that the cameras on the race cars were on the Brabhams, both of which went off. So I don't think we're going to be seeing any race car pictures, because as far as I know, it was not on the spare car. Although Martin Brundle's car, which is now being driven by Stefano Modena, was carrying a camera. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. But now, on lap 3 in the Belgian Grand Prix, Ayrton Senna is away. He's had the fastest lap of the race so far, 1 minute 20.048, and leads Alain Prost by 3.8 seconds. There's the gap. Now, there's Berger in 3rd position in the V12 Ferrari. And Prost, of course, now he's got a clear circuit in front of him by virtue of the fact that he's far enough behind Ayrton Senna for the spray which the Brazilian's McLaren Honda is throwing up to have settled down by the time Prost gets there. But how can you possibly attack in conditions like this on lap 3? This being round 11 of the 16-round World Championship. Into the bus stop for the 3rd time goes Senna, Prost, Berger, McLaren, Ferrari, Nigel Mansell 4th coming through. There he is, coming towards us now. The winner in Hungary, the winner in Brazil. Thierry Boutsen in 5th place, Riccardo Patrese in 6th position, and coming through in 7th position in the march is Maurizio Gugelmin, and there was Nannini in the Benetton, Riccardo Patrese. So, Alessandro Nannini in 7th position, 4 seconds behind Riccardo Patrese, who is 6th. There is Gugelmin in 9th place, following Derek Warwick. Cappy in 10th position, and Emanuele Pirro driving a fine race, as is Stefan Johansson. Pirro is 11th, Johansson is 12th, Johnny Herbert is 13th, and closing on the Onyx Ford of the Swedish driver Stefan Johansson. And that's Eddie Cheever. Now, hopefully we'll be able to get a close look at the tires of cars like the Minardi to see exactly how they look. Because, oh, and that's Arnoux again. Arnoux, who was involved with a spin earlier on, and it's Philippe Alliot, who is stuck at La Source as the marshals frantically gesticulate to people to keep to the right. And you can see that Alliot's car has had part of the wing knocked off, and I think he's lost the left front wing. Obviously, he and René Arnoux had an altercation about who should have the racing line at La Source at the end of the 3rd lap, and Arnoux won by default. And the marshals picking up the pieces. Ayrton Senna now leading by 5.3 seconds. He's the first man here today to have done a lap in under 2 minutes and 20 seconds. He's just gone round in 2 minutes 19.18, and that's an Onyx off the circuit, and it looks like Stefan Johansson. I can't really see through the gloom, but yes, it is Stefan Johansson. And I said earlier on we were going to see a lot of this sort of thing, and his race is finished because he is in the gravel trap. The bottom of the car has bogged down on the gravel, but he's going to have a push, which he's not really allowed to have. And according to the caption, it's not. It is Gachot. My apologies, Belgian Bertrand Gachot. So he rejoins. I malign the unfortunate Stefan Johansson, and my apologies to him, because Stefan is in fact still in 12th position, and now on lap 5 out of 44, with Ayrton Senna there increasing his lead to 5 seconds. The order is Senna leading, Prost 2nd, Berger 3rd, Mansell 4th, Boutsen 5th, Patrese in 6th position, Nannini 7th, Warwick 8th, Gudum in 9th, Cappy 10th, Pirro 11th, and Stefan Johansson 12th. The leader at Lecombe. Prost. Berger looking just a bit ragged, as frankly he has looked all through practice. He's trying very, very hard indeed. Somebody asked him yesterday if he expected to win, and he said, I don't know, and he said somewhat bitterly, I just want to finish, because he hasn't done that in all the 10 Grand Prix that we've had so far, and most of all he will want to finish today because it is his birthday, and it's Derek Warwick's as well. Gerhard Berger then, there he is, car number 28, the Ferrari, 30 years old today, the man from Bergel in Austria. René Arnoux has come into the pits to have his Ligier rebuilt, although it looked to me then as though they were going to wheel it off the track. But Johnny Herbert has gone missing. Incidentally, Herbert slid off the circuit 3 times in the practice sessions on Friday, Saturday and this morning, and surprised and delighted himself by involuntary running. Yes, Arnoux out of the Belgian Grand Prix, so his race here was a very short one. René Arnoux out and very much in Ayrton Senna, 5 seconds ahead. But Prost now is speeding up. His last lap was 4/10 of a second faster than Ayrton Senna, and both the McLarens are lapping faster than both the Ferraris. That's the leader. And Senna is now 3.8 seconds ahead of Prost, so the Frenchman is attacking with the fastest lap of the race so far, 2 minutes 18.785 seconds. Alain Prost is starting to close on Senna, but watch the second McLaren and look at the problem that double world champion Alain Prost, there's the confirmation, and that is a speed of 111.8 miles an hour compared with the lap record which Prost himself holds of 132 miles an hour. It's a job for our producer, our Belgian producer here, of course, to pick up the cars in these weather conditions. But now, even now, Gerhard Berger, you see, he's just 5 seconds behind Ayrton Senna. He's only 2 seconds behind Alain Prost in second position. And I say again, Prost is attacking. Mansell is 3 seconds behind Berger. There's still a long, long way to go in this race. As you look at Belgian, Thierry Boutsen in 5th place, 4 seconds behind Mansell, and 3 seconds behind him is Riccardo Patrese. Both the Williams Renaults with their V10 engines going well. And Thierry Boutsen knows this course better than anybody. He's driven in the Spa 24-hour touring car race. He won the Belgian Group C race here in 1986, I think, if my memory serves me properly. And the gap between, as you see there, Thierry Boutsen, who is in 5th place, and Nigel Mansell in 4th position, was what, some 4.6 seconds. So Boutsen attacking, but still not as quick as Prost. Prost 2 minutes 18.7, Boutsen 2 minutes 19.9. Attacking but not getting anywhere. And I can't even attempt to describe to you what the conditions must be like in the cockpits of the cars, because the visibility will be practically nil. They have 650 horsepower behind them. They have to balance their cars on the circuit, because most of all, of course, you have to stay on the tarmac. You get no awards for going off. But now, as you look at Patrese, with dry settings, by that I mean that his Williams Renault is set up for dry conditions, and normally they're very different in the wet. But Patrese, who decided after the warm-up this morning that he did not want to change, notwithstanding the wetness of the conditions, is definitely closing in 6th position on Thierry Boutsen, and is lapping faster than the Belgian. Ayrton Senna leads now on lap 7 out of 44 by 3.6 seconds. Prost is taking about 2/10 of a second out of the Belgian's lead at the present moment, and he has already lapped Bertrand Gachot, he being Ayrton Senna. He's lapped Gachot, who of course you saw go off earlier on, not Johansson. And that's Alain Prost. Now he's got to get past Bertrand Gachot. The lapping situation is developing very, very early in the race. And of course, with the track being as wet as it is now, and with it being as hard to find grip as it is, and the danger of aquaplaning, the tyres should, I think, last the whole race. Certainly the Goodyears that the lead drivers are, because they are full wet tyres designed and built for these conditions. And we're on lap 7 now. That is Alain Prost. There is Berger. That's how close it is. Berger has now got past Gachot. The Belgian in the Onyx has got Nigel Mansell in his wheel tracks. And you'll all be wondering what's happened to Johnny Herbert, and if I knew, I would tell you. All I can tell you is that he has disappeared from our lap chart. He's obviously out of the race. We haven't seen him. I haven't seen him come into the pits, and I would have seen him because he was in 13th position, and the pit road goes directly outside my commentary box, so if Johnny Herbert had come in, I would have seen him. All I can tell you is he's disappeared from the lap chart, but I can now tell you, and you can see for yourself, that Gerhard Berger is attacking again. As Ayrton Senna goes through, having completed his 7th lap, he's now 5 seconds ahead of Prost, who is 1.5 seconds ahead of Berger. There is the Austrian, there is Nigel Mansell. The Ferraris hopefully have overcome their reliability problems. That is Gachot, number 37, who's he moves over politely. And then Thierry Boutsen in 5th place, following Mansell through, lets Patrese through. They go down to the Eau Rouge for the 8th time. And they have to go left and right, and they'll be doing over 150 miles an hour, even in these conditions. Formula One Grand Prix drivers get paid a great deal of money, and my goodness, when the conditions, well, any time they deserve it, but when the conditions are like this, they most certainly deserve it. And so there, Nigel Mansell, you're looking at now in 4th position. But he's out of the race because he's now shown, we now know that he is lost. He's 3 laps adrift. So sadly, his first race for Tyrrell has ended very early indeed. And you see now that Ayrton Senna leads Alain Prost by 5 seconds, just over 5 seconds. Prost 1.5 seconds ahead of Berger in 3rd place. Berger 3 seconds ahead of Mansell, who is now starting to attack. And Nigel Mansell's last lap time actually was a bit slower than Berger as Riccardo Patrese goes through. The lead places have not changed in the first 7 laps of this race, quite apart from anything else, because, as I have repeatedly said, the problems of getting past somebody, even if you are brave enough to close up on their rear wing, are absolutely monumental. And you just have to hope, if you're in a car, that the driver in front of you will make a mistake. And that's Riccardo Patrese, number 6, the man from Monaco in his 187th Grand Prix, as Senna goes into La Source, having lapped Stefano Modena. 4.8 seconds ahead of Alain Prost. You see Berger and Mansell, the 2 Ferraris, very much holding the McLarens in sight. Both the Brabhams that had so much trouble, as you look at Riccardo Patrese, and now down the course. Behind Riccardo Patrese, that is Nannini in the green and multicoloured Benetton. And that is Derek Warwick. Now, Derek Warwick is still in 8th position, but he's only 3 seconds behind Nannini. Both the Brabhams are running well. Brundle in the spare car, as you look at Maurizio Gugelmin in 9th position, and Modena down in 21st position. But obviously the race cameras in the Brabhams are not working, or not altogether surprising, because I think they're waterlogged in these conditions. Ayrton Senna, appropriately, number 1, world champion of 1988. And he's in a tremendously strong position. You can see Prost there. Now, is Senna going to have any trouble? This is Ayrton Senna, of course, is going so quick that he's closing on tail enders now, and he's got to get past them. That is one of the Lolas that he's coming up behind now. I should think it's Michele Alboreto, who is in 18th position. Yes, it is it. Terribly difficult to identify in these conditions. All you can do is look at the driver's helmet. Philippe's helmet is predominantly white, and through goes Ayrton Senna to lap the Lola. And the positions now with Senna leading Prost, Berger, Mansell, Boutsen and Patrese. Derek Warwick is in 8th position. Martin Brundle is in 16th place. Jonathan Palmer is in 19th place. Johnny Herbert appears to be out of the race, and there is Alain Prost closing up on the Lola. Now I'll be able to tell you who it is, because he's going past me in a few seconds, and it's Philippe Alliot who is being caught. There he is by Alain Prost, and this gives Gerhard Berger the opportunity to close up on the McLaren. As Alboreto turns in, he will know that there's going to be somebody pretty close to Alain Prost, and Michele Alboreto, who has got an enormous amount of experience, having driven for Ferrari and Tyrrell, both before and after Ferrari, and now driving for Lola. And this is Michele's 128th Grand Prix. Will move over. Yellow flags waved there. Now we're looking down at, and they're going along the radile now. This is the fastest part of the course, and that is Philippe Alliot in the V12 Lola-powered, Lamborghini-powered Lola. They've made big changes to the inside of the engine, different types of pistons, and they have a lot of new aerodynamic bits on the car. That is Modena's car in the background that you see in a shattered state, and that's Johnny Herbert limping in. Well, you can see now the problems that Johnny Herbert has walking. I was saying earlier on that he had run for the first time yesterday. When he went off, he was so anxious to get back to the pits that without realising it, he started running and was delighted to find that he could. This was the mental breakthrough he needed to get him going again. He's having physiotherapy in London, and it certainly seems to be doing the trick. Nigel Mansell, 4th position. 5 seconds now, 5.5 seconds behind Gerhard Berger, who is now the fastest man on the course. Gerhard Berger, his last lap was in 2 minutes, 20.5 seconds, compared with Mansell's 2 minutes, 22.6, and compared with Senna's 2 minutes, 21.234. This is lap 10, and that is a major problem down there. It looks to me as though it's one of the Dalaras. No, it's Gerhard Berger. It's Gerhard Berger out of 3rd position. So for the 11th Grand Prix, out of 11, the unfortunate Austrian fails to score points. Now, what the problem was, whether it was mechanical or whether Gerhard slid off, I do not know. We may see a replay that will give us some indication. And all I can say is that this really is not Gerhard Berger's year. He's leaving Ferrari at the end of 1989 to join McLaren as teammate to Ayrton Senna. And now we look at Riccardo Patrese, who has moved up to 5th position. He's 6 seconds behind Thierry Boutsen, who has now moved up into 4th place. Boutsen 2.5 seconds behind Mansell, who is now 3rd, having taken Gerhard Berger's position. And that consolidates the McLaren's lead and 2nd places and removes one of the major threats that Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost had. And on lap 11 out of 44, 1/4 distance, Ayrton Senna with Modena in the pits. Stefano Modena, who started the race in Martin Brundle's repaired Brabham, Martin having gone off on the assembly lap as Modena did, and that is Stefano Modena in the Brabham, in the pit lane. And you can see that you can have a look at those Pirelli tires that he's got. Those are hand-grooved slicks, and those grooves are cut in with special hot irons Ayrton Senna doesn't need them. He's got the right wet Goodyears for these conditions, and he's lapping now very comfortably in just about 2 minutes 20.5 seconds. His previous lap faster than anybody else's. He's 6 seconds ahead of Prost, who is 8 seconds ahead of Mansell, who is 2 seconds ahead of Boutsen in 4th place. 5 seconds behind him as Gerhard Berger, with his helmet on for some reason, perhaps it's just to keep his head dry, sprints back to the pits. Oh dear. That's a good touch by the organisers, incidentally. There is a service road all round, that's Ayrton Senna leading, there's a service road all round this Spar-Francorchamps circuit, which, as I said, is 4.3 miles, and they have motorcyclists stationed all round the circuit, ready to take people back to the pits if they've had the misfortune to have to retire. And Ayrton Senna now, having won in San Marino, Monaco, Mexico, Germany, 2nd place in Hungary, having been beaten by Nigel Mansell. That graphic shows you where Ayrton Senna, the red dot, is in relation to Alain Prost. The green one, Nigel Mansell, who, as you can see, has got Boutsen. It's that gap between the dots is actually 4.6 seconds in terms of time. Riccardo Patrese in 5th position. He's just 1 second behind Boutsen. And the interest in the Belgian Grand Prix, as Eddie Cheever is being caught now by Ayrton Senna, and Eddie Cheever is in 19th place, and it's not going to be quite as easy for Ayrton Senna to get past Cheever. He's coming up to faster men all the time. Mansell is dropping back. I don't know if Nigel's got problems or if he's decided he's going to take a rest, which is not unheard of in these conditions, and attack later. But he's now 4.6 seconds behind. No, he's not. He's 12.5 seconds behind Alain Prost. So is Mansell in trouble? Mansell, who has a mathematical chance of winning the World Championship this year, but in order to do so, with the best 11 scores counting out of 16 races, he would have to win them all. And he doesn't look as though he's going to win this one at the present rate of going. As Ayrton Senna, race leader, closes up on Eddie Cheever in the arrows in 19th place, soon to lap him. And Senna has already, of course, gone past the stationary Gerhard Berger's car and the stationary Johnny Herbert's car. René Arnoux is out of the Belgian Grand Prix. But we were all hoping for better things from the Ferraris. They've been working very hard on the engines and closing the power gap between the Honda engines of the McLarens. And you're looking at number 1 Ayrton Senna with one of them as I speak, closing up on Eddie Cheever. Now, in front of Eddie Cheever, you can see Jonathan Palmer in 18th position, or you will in a moment. Cheever cuts across Senna. Now, is Ayrton Senna going to take his courage in both hands as usual? Indeed he is. And he goes through and laps Eddie Cheever in 19th position. Up the Radion again. And hello, that is Emanuele Pirro, who's spun off and is very sensibly keeping on the grass because he knows that with the low-slung Benetton, if he gets on the gravel, he'll never get out of it. He's now taking a run at it, rallycross fashion. Now, that was a very intelligent bit of driving by Pirro, who was in 10th position when he went off. And now you can see what happens. He was fortunate enough, literally, on this replay, to skate across the gravel trap onto the grass. He just slightly nudged the tyres with his right rear wheel, which won't have done any harm at all, engages first gear and drives out, picking the hardest surface that he possibly can, as Ayrton Senna now comes up to lap Jonathan Palmer in 18th place, having taken Cheever. His next target will be Michele Alboreto, who is 17th, and on lap 13, Ayrton Senna in the McLaren Honda on his way to his 5th Grand Prix win of 1989. Martin Brundle touring. Oh dear, this is not a Brabham day today. 6 seconds lead over Prost. who has 13 seconds lead over Mansell, who has 7 seconds lead over Boutsen in 4th place, who has Riccardo Patrese 5th, 2 seconds behind him. Nannini is up into 6th position. Alessandro Nannini in the Benetton Ford, 3rd at San Marino, 3rd in Britain, 4th in Mexico, 6th in Brazil, is now 6th in Belgium, as Chiva goes up to and through the bus stop, being caught by Alain Prost to lap him. Alain Prost in 2nd position. And once again, Prost is lapping marginally faster than Senna, but not fast enough to make any real inroads into the nearly 6 seconds lead over the Frenchman that Brazilian Ayrton Senna has got. Now, through Eau Rouge in 6th gear, flat out, as the confirmation of the gap between race leader Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna in 2nd position. Up towards Kemmel and Les Combes. Now there you see the right-hander at Les Combes, the left and then the right before they start to drop down to the Rivage. And Nigel Mansell is charging again. The gap is down to 5 seconds. Nigel Mansell is closing, and I have just been joined by Johnny Herbert. We saw you walking in, Johnny, but what exactly happened?
Well, it was just basically, I think I was just going a bit too quick. I was behind Stefan going into a Rouge. There was lots of spray, and I couldn't really work it out totally, but basically it was my mistake, and I went a bit too quick, and I think I hit a white line, but it was my mistake.
Well, we're watching Martin Brundle limp in now as he's passed by the Lola. But I've been talking about the conditions and how dreadful they must be. Tell us about it from the driver's point of view.
Well, the worst part is actually the start, like going into the first corner in a Rouge, you just couldn't see a damn thing. There was nothing. A few people, I think one passed me, I think Stefan passed me down the hill, but basically you can't see absolute anything. Even if there's one car in front, you have to move right off to the inside or the outside of the circuit to actually see where you're going. The actual conditions, there's no actual water lane on the circuit, but it's just the spray, which is a bit bad. But as you can see there, you see nothing there, you hardly see the bridge. So it's not too good out there, but it's not, I've been in worse.
Well, you've driven the Tyrrell now in practice and in the race, and we're looking at now Alain Prost, the gap between himself and Ayrton Senna, and we are on lap 14 out of 44. The gap between Senna leading and Prost in 2nd position is 6 seconds now, and Senna again is marginally quicker than Prost. It looks as though the Frenchman can do nothing about it. Now look, we're watching Prost chasing Chiva, Johnny Herbert. How would you try to get Prost? Talk about Prost going through.
I think he's got to find him first. I think that's probably the best thing he can do. But again, it's probably best bet now is down the straight, because you can get right over to the inside now and you can just about probably see his back wheels. But it's so difficult at the moment. You see he's coming now, the centre there. But the spray is just that bad. You can't really see where you've got to brake because of all the spray.
Now you have high intensity rear lights. How close to the car in front do you have to be before you see that rear light as a danger signal?
I think you have to push your actual helmet against the light to actually see it.
All right. Well, stay with us, Johnny Herbert. Lap 15, 44-lap race. Ayrton Senna leads by 6 seconds, lapping in 2 minutes 20.4, and the fastest lap that we have so far, I'm just very quickly checking, is about 2 minutes 18 seconds, and it's Nigel Mansell. Nigel Mansell is now the fastest man on the circuit. He's lapping 2 seconds faster than Senna. He is lapping 2 seconds faster than Prost. He is in 3rd position. The gap between the Ferrari and the McLaren of Alain Prost in 2nd place is down to 7 seconds now. And while I talk to you, I'm helping Johnny Herbert get out of an absolutely sodden pair of racing overalls. How much does the water get into the cockpit and therefore into your overalls, Johnny? And to what extent does it affect your body heat?
Normally in the car, your hottest, your actual wettest part of your arms really, and probably a little bit around your neck. But that's not too bad, and it probably helps to call you actually as well, so that's not a bad thing.
Alain Prost, second position. McLaren leads, McLaren second, Ferrari third, and Mansell, by virtue of his charge now, as Prost nips over the curb at the bus stop, which was certainly not intentional, the gap between Nigel Mansell and Thierry Boutsen, who is in fourth place, is increasing. Mansell pulling away, and Mansell now is really charging. This is now, you can start to see it for yourself. Nigel Mansell is now only 2 seconds behind Alain Prost. Mansell, who has already got second places to his credit in France and Britain, and those two magnificent wins, the first race of the year in Brazil and the last one we saw in Hungary, is going to be challenging the McLaren, as that's one of the Delaras out. I can't see which one it is because I can't see the number. Let's have a look at the lap chart and see whether it is Andrea De Cesaris. No, it's Alex Cappy who is out. So, René Arnoux out, Johnny Herbert out, Gerhard Berger out, Alex Cappy out, Stefano Modena has disappeared, and so now, as you look at Nigel Mansell charging, you can see now, there is Alain Prost. This is the excitement and interest in the Belgian Grand Prix on this notorious Spa-Frankorsham circuit, a beautiful, magnificent and demanding circuit at the best of times, and these are just about the worst of times with these weather conditions. And still, Alain Prost has not succeeded, as did Senna, in getting past Eddie Cheever. And this is now, you remember what Johnny Herbert has already said, as you look at Michele Alboreto, who has been caught by Cheever, who is almost a lap behind Prost and Berger, who are second and third. And now you're going to see the art and craft of a top Grand Prix driver dealing with the opposition in front in truly appalling conditions. On lap 16, Senna leading by 8.7 seconds, pulling away all the time because Prost can't do anything about Cheever and Alboreto, who are 15th and 16th. There's Cheever, right on the tail of the Lola Lamborghini of Michele Alboreto, ex-Ferrari, into the bus stop. Now, if Prost can do anything about Eddie Cheever, he may be able to do it in the run from La Source down to Eau Rouge and up to Les Combes, because that is where he's got superior power. Prost closing on Cheever, going through, and Cheever waves his hand. Now, is he going to let Nigel Mansell through in the same way that he let Prost through? Prost now 12 seconds behind Senna. It's looking increasingly like Ayrton Senna's Belgian Grand Prix. And that's Eddie Cheever. And still the rain is hammering down. And of course, because of all these trees that you can see around the course, there is nowhere for the rain to get away. There is a bit of a wind, but there's nowhere that it can clear the course on the heavily wooded sections. Mansell and Prost, second and third. Prost, third, Mansell, McLaren and Ferrari. Sprinting down from Les Combes to Rivage, that's the right-hander there. You can see there, Cheever, Alboreto. It looks as though Eddie Cheever has got ahead of Michele Alboreto. And now we'll be rejoining a camera soon with Derek Warwick, actually. I haven't mentioned him recently, but he's in 7th position, looking good for the points because he's closing up on Alessandro Nannini, who is in 6th place in the Benetton. He's lapping faster than the Italian, and he's only 1.5 seconds behind him. Now, there is Prost, who has got ahead of Alboreto and Cheever. He's done it now. Now he's got practically a lap because Nigel Mansell's got the problem on the twisty parts of the circuit. He's got to be tremendously courageous, and he is. What would you be doing, Johnny?
We'll try to see where he is. As you can see now, Prost has actually gone through, and Nigel's got a big problem now. He's got 2 cars in front of him, which are giving him twice as much spray, so he's going to find it difficult. So he's dropped back again there. And his biggest chance is going to be out the back over the top of the Rouge. It's going to be very difficult for him. You see he's left a gap there, so he can actually see where he's going.
What about the helmet and the visor? I mean, does the rain get into and behind the visor, and does it steam up?
It's not too bad. We normally put a little bit of tape just to keep the visor open, or normally it's not too bad. You don't really get much steaming, but the actual water on the visor itself is actually blown off with the wind anyway. It's only when you get a clump of mud that you'll probably have a bit of trouble.
Alboreto and Cheever, and of course with Mansell being held up by that battle between Alboreto and Cheever for 14th position, that is giving Thierry Boutsen in 4th place the opportunity to close on the Ferrari. Thierry Boutsen is lapping considerably faster. He's just gone round in 2 minutes 19.7, which is one of the fastest laps of the race that we've had, compared with Mansell's previous lap of 2 minutes 25.3, and Boutsen is actually faster than both Senna and Prost at the moment. So it looks as though the Belgian, there he is getting a second wind. He's coming up to the Ferrari, going out of the Radillon into Les Combes, leaving the Malmedy Road behind him. Thierry Boutsen, the winner of the Canadian Grand Prix, and he is in 5th position in the World Championship with just 17 points compared with Alain Prost, the leader's 56 points. But Boutsen has got this enormous incentive of being a Belgian in Belgium with a not very large crowd, I have to tell you, perhaps unsurprisingly in view of the weather conditions, cheering him on. And there is the gap. Alboreto, Cheever. Now Nigel Mansell is nearly 6 seconds behind Prost, who is 15 seconds behind, and Prost pushing Eddie Cheever very hard indeed. But Eddie holding off. Eddie Cheever did not qualify at all well again. Indeed, he was in 24th position on the grid and has now made his way up to, 16th position, and the race order on lap 19 of the Belgian Grand Prix, which is a 44-lap race, which is 190 miles, as near as makes no difference. The race order is Ayrton Senna, 14 seconds ahead of Alain Prost. And Mansell has not passed either Cheever or Alboreto, and Boutsen is right with him, and Patrese is right with Boutsen, and Nannini is right with Patrese. So, between Nigel Mansell in 3rd position and the two Williams Renaults and Alessandro Nannini's car, and he is in 6th place, there is precious little time and distance, with Derek Warwick closing up on all of them. Well, it may be static at the front in terms of leadership, but as you can see, Prost is pushing again, this enormously experienced Frenchman. And that looks to me like Nigel Mansell ahead of Eddie Cheever, 16th position. But what about Cheever and Boutsen, Patrese and Nannini? Race order on lap 19, Ayrton Senna leads, Alain Prost 2nd, Mansell 3rd, Boutsen 4th, Patrese 5th, Nannini 6th, Warwick is in 7th place, 2 seconds behind Nannini. Gugelmin is 8th in the March, Stefan Johansson in the Onyx is in 9th position, 10th is Andrea De Cesaris, 11th is Emanuele Pirro, having regained the course, 12th is Pierluigi Martini, Jonathan Palmer is in 17th position. And you look now at Alboreto and Cheever, still Nigel Mansell with these appalling conditions, and that non-stop bundle of spray racing in front of him in the form of Eddie Cheever, can't get past the Arrows Ford. And I was saying earlier on that these awful conditions would narrow the performance gap between the V8-powered cars and the V10 and the V12s. I know you didn't get all that close to them, Johnny, but would you agree?
It's probably going to bring it a little bit closer. The biggest thing against the Honda, the Ferrari and the Williams is the actual way the power comes in. Compared to most engines, they're actually coming with a bit more torque, you know, a bit more of a bang, but they're quite smooth, which is actually more drivable in the wet. So hopefully, compared to the Hondas and then Nigel in the Ferrari, it should bring them a little bit closer.
And still, as Alboreto and Cheever, Mansell goes through. Now Boutsen, can he get past? So Nigel Mansell has got Eddie Cheever between himself and the opposition in the form of the two Williams Renaults of Thierry Boutsen in 4th place and Riccardo Patrese, and he will grasp his opportunity. Cheever still in front of Boutsen, who is in 4th position. It's Senna now leading by 12.8 seconds. Prost has gone round in 2 minutes 17.3. Mansell 3rd, Boutsen 4th, Patrese 5th, Nannini in 6th position. And Nannini is just over 1 second ahead of Derek Warwick, and that is very close indeed. Boutsen and Patrese past Cheever. So the traffic is pouring past the American now, and Thierry Boutsen is really having to fight for his 4th position. Thierry Boutsen on full wet weather settings. Riccardo Patrese amazingly on the dry settings that he used for that very quick practice lap yesterday, Saturday, in ideal conditions, which gave him 5th place on the grid. And there's a lot of rivalry, of course, between the team members, Thierry Boutsen and Riccardo Patrese. The biggest rival that any driver has got is his own teammate. And Mansell now passed Alboreto as well. Alboreto, who is in 15th position. And we're now on lap 20. We're coming up towards half distance, which is lap 22, of course. Were you planning, Johnny Herbert, in these conditions and even expecting to make a tyre stop?
It just all depends, really, if the rain was, you know, going to stop. But at the moment, it doesn't look as if it's going to stop at all. So I would imagine everybody will stay out on the same set of tyres.
And all the lead cars, of course, are equipped with car-to-pits radio so that they can keep in touch with things. And the pits have got television sets so they can see the cars all around the circuit. And it really is a very high-tech world now, as Olivier Grouillard, who is in 14th place, is about to be lapped by Nigel Mansell, and Alboreto is about to be lapped by Boutsen and Patrese and Nannini. Now, you can see now how close it is for the battle for 4th position, which is held by Thierry Boutsen. Senna, that's the fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 17.177 by Ayrton Senna. And the one thing that he's got to do above all else now is to keep up his concentration. He learned a very bitter lesson at Monaco last year when he allowed his concentration to lapse. And the closing laps of the race, with a considerable lead over Alain Prost, who went through to win after Senna went off at the Portier just before the tunnel and finished his race. And he disappeared for a long, long time, went back to his apartment in Monaco. There he is, Ayrton Senna, to have a long, hard think about life in general. And he's certainly benefited from it. Now that's Roland Brunscheider, who is the clerk of the course, standing there. And he's about to show the white and black flag to somebody. And that is the answer. That's the answer. I wish we could look closer. It looks to me as though that is Alboreto who's gone off, and Patrese who's gone off. Riccardo Patrese, there's obviously been a coming together, and Riccardo Patrese is out of the Belgian Grand Prix. He was in 5th position. Michele Alboreto is out. And they are old enemies, I can tell you. There is no love lost between the two of them. And although I'm hypothesizing, it may well have been that Michele Alboreto saw Patrese coming up in his mirrors, refused to give way, and that was the inevitable result. And of course, poor Riccardo he went off at Silverstone. He failed to finish in Hungary. And number 10, who's been shown the black and white flag, that's Eddie Cheever. And that's Ron Dennis talking to Brunscheider. Ron Dennis, who's the head of the McLaren team. I can only guess that he was not prepared. That is Eddie Cheever. I can only guess that he was not prepared to let Prost and Mansell through, but as Alboreto and Riccardo Patrese, who thus far this season has been a very relaxed and cheerful Italian, walk in, significantly not exactly chatting happily to each other, and Frank Williams in the Williams pit watches his monitor, knowing that Riccardo Patrese is out of the race on lap 22, which is the half-distance lap. Ayrton Senna has got a very commanding lead of 12 seconds over Alain Prost, who is 18 seconds ahead of Nigel Mansell. Thierry Boutsen in 4th place. That lets Alessandro Nannini up into 5th position. You're watching the race leader, Ayrton Senna. And in 6th position, now in the points, Derek Warwick in the Arrows, ahead of Maurizio Gugelmin in 7th place. Stefan Johansson in the Onyx is in 8th position. In 9th position, it is Emanuele Pirro. 10th is De Cesaris. 11th is Martini. 12th is Capelli. And Jonathan Palmer has moved up into 15th position now that Alboreto and Patrese are out of the race. Ayrton Senna up to the march. Now Senna's got several sorts of problems. He's closing up on Pierluigi Martini in the Minardi and Ivan Capelli in the March, who is in 12th position. Martini is in 11th place. And I'm having an absolute galaxy of guests here in the commentary box today. I'm very sorry to have to say hello to Martin Brundle, because if I wasn't saying hello to Martin Brundle, he would be in the race, and he's out of it. But he's with us. And Martin, first of all, what happened on the parade lap when I saw you coming in a very askew Brabham with the left rear wheel off the ground and the right front wheel off the ground?
We were trying a new Pirelli tyre in that this morning Martini was very quick with a different type of tyre. We tried that, but there'd been quite a bit more rain and it was difficult to judge just how much. And unfortunately the car aquaplaned only a few hundred metres out of the pits, totally out of control, very difficult. Once the car is off the ground on top of the water, you're out of control, obviously.
And what happened in the race?
It's almost impossible to see in the beginning. It was second and third gear stuff, just watching the red light in front of you, and more after a while when you build up speed, you're just listening to the exhaust note, to be honest, and looking at the side of the cockpit to see if you can judge from the side of the track where you actually are. It's very, very difficult.
To put it mildly, that's hazardous. Martin, racing at 150, 160, 170 miles an hour, even in these conditions, and we're watching Ayrton Senna now coming up to lap people. Do you think that they ought to be running the race?
Well, it's very difficult. We're professional race drivers. We're supposed to be some of the best in the world. We have to cope with the hot conditions, the wet conditions. It was marginal today, to say the least, and somewhat dangerous, but it does seem under control out there. You know, we have to cope with it. I have to say, I don't know whether we're brave or stupid, but when you retire from the race, there's a large element of disappointment and a small element of relief.
Well, it's good to see you here and safe and well. And we're looking now at Pierluigi Martini in the Minardi on these grooved Pirelli tyres that they had to use on a force majeure basis. You were using them. Did you find them better than the full Pirelli wets?
No, I think you'll find Martini is on the full Pirelli wets. Everybody, every Pirelli runner on the grid changed to the full wets. I had the big moment, and just about every other Pirelli runner did too. So we've gone to the full wet, and that wasn't too bad. That was running quite well.
Well, Martin Brundle with us, and with us on lap 23 of the 44-lap Belgian Grand Prix, which is being led by Ayrton Senna. Now, while we have been talking to Johnny Herbert, while we've been looking at Michele Alboreto going off with Riccardo Patrese, and now you look at Bertrand Gachot off the course and out of the race, that's another indication of how appalling these conditions are. Arnoux out, Herbert out, Berger out, Cappy out, Modena out, Alboreto out, Patrese out, Gachot out, Brundle out, and the race is led by Ayrton Senna, but the gap has come down Prost is closed up on Senna. He's lapping 4 seconds faster than Ayrton Senna, and the gap is down from over 8 seconds to 5.5, with Mansell 14 seconds behind Prost in 3rd place. 11 seconds ahead of Thierry Boutsen, who is in 4th place. Mansell is now the fastest man on the circuit, 2 minutes 14.9. Alessandro Nannini is in 5th place. Derek Warwick is in 6th place. I'm chuckling because it really is coming alive, this Belgian Grand Prix. You're looking at Ayrton Senna. Now let's see how far, with the yellow flags waving as he comes up to that incident. He is. Now, we're travelling with Senna. Rejoins the old circuit up to the bus stop. He's coming through to complete a lap shortly. The gap on the previous lap was 5.4 seconds between him and Alain Prost. That is Nigel Mansell. Looking a bit ragged, and Martin Brundle.
Yeah, he drifted a bit wide. The curves are very slippery. Where they're painted, they get incredibly slippery.
And you can see he's the fastest man on the circuit, 2 minutes 14.9. He's lapping 2 seconds faster than Prost. He is lapping 7 seconds faster than Ayrton Senna. That is very significant indeed, and that is Bertrand Gachot, helmet off, the Belgian in Belgium. Here is the hero of Hungary and Brazil and Italy, Nigel Mansell, 3rd position. Senna 7 seconds ahead of Prost. Well, Senna must have been held up by traffic, because he's just gone round in about a second and a half faster than Alain Prost. But Nigel Mansell is still closing that gap. 2 minutes 14.8 his last lap. Now watch the Ferrari through Eau Rouge, up the climb to Le Radaillon, the longest and fastest part of the course, into Les Combes, the right-hander. That's Capelli in 12th position. Nigel Mansell lapping at 115 miles an hour, and off, but regains it. Just a bit of too late braking, Martin?
Yeah, obviously the track is beginning to dry, and you then have to find new limits for the braking area, and Nigel just left that one a little late. The car would slew sideways. We run a lot of rear brake balance in the wet conditions to stop locking the front wheels, and he chose to drive across the grass instead of spinning, and I think that's the right decision. We've all been across there at some stage. Yeah, as you can see, look, he's just let the back, in fact, he turned in and the back started to go away, and he's now gone straight across the grass. But we all know that there's nothing in the middle there. Sometimes there's a few things that give you a puncture or take the bottom out of the car, but I would think he's pretty safe going across that part.
Well, he's running straight and true now, and still the fastest man on the course. You could fool me, Martin, when you say the track is drying out. How did you spot that?
Well, if you notice, nearly everybody is recording their fastest laps on each lap as we go past, and you're just getting a little bit of a dry line, a little bit less spray, and a bit more confidence to take some of those very, very fast corners flat out.
And Senna's fastest lap so far, 2 minutes 16.7, compares with Mansell's fastest so far, 2 minutes 14.8. Lap 25, Senna leads, Prost second, Mansell third, Boutsen in 4th position, Alessandro Nannini is still in 5th position, just a whisker ahead of Derek Warwick in 6th place in the Arrows, Maurizio Gugelmin in 7th, Johansson 8th, Pirro is 9th, De Cesaris is 10th, and that is a dripping, sodden, obviously downcast Riccardo Patrese, who's had some terrible breaks this year. That is Thierry Boutsen going through, almost literally through the bus stop, and coming through to complete another lap in the Williams Renault. Well, Martin, I know you've got to go. Thank you for coming, but do you want to stick your neck out and make some sort of a prophecy?
Well, I think Senna's probably got a little bit in hand if he, as and when he realises that Nigel's catching. He's got 18 seconds in hand over him now, but Nigel's matching him lap for lap. In fact, Nannini and Warwick are also coming up there on the time, so it's going to close up towards the end, but you don't know how much Senna's got left in hand at the moment.
Indeed we don't, and thank you very much, Martin Brundle, for joining us. Ayrton Senna, 2 minutes 16.1 seconds, and you look at Thierry Boutsen in 4th position, but he's now 12 seconds behind Nigel Mansell. 19 laps to go, including the one that they are on. And will they be pleased to finish? I'm sure they will. Because even though you're protected by the high cockpit sides and the fairing in front of you, you are absolutely on the edge of your mental resources all the time to control the car and the power. Because just because it's wet, there's no less power. And with all that power in these conditions, with less rubber on the ground by virtue of the grooved tyres, it makes things extremely difficult. Now, you will have seen from that caption that Nigel Mansell is now 12.7 seconds behind Alain Prost and again charging. Boutsen, Senna leads. 10 seconds ahead of Prost, who is 8.5 seconds now ahead of Mansell, who lapped 2.5 seconds faster than Prost. And indeed, there is the confirmation of what Martin Brundle was saying. You can now see a dry line starting to emerge on the circuit. These very heavy rubber tyres with their grooved treads are clearing the water. The rain has eased off now. In fact, it's not raining, it's drizzling, but there's still an enormous amount of surface water. As you see, Derek Warwick in 6th position, chasing Alessandro Nannini, or you did, because this is Thierry Boutsen, 14 seconds in 4th place, and there is behind Nigel Mansell as Alessandro Nannini laps the Minardi, which gives Derek Warwick the problem of doing the same thing, and Derek ducks out from behind the back of the Minardi. You're looking at the battle for 5th and 6th places. It's Derek Warwick from 4 marks and now Jersey, where he's lived for some little time, chasing Alessandro Nannini. And Boutsen is being chased by Nannini, so it's Senna leading, 8.8 seconds ahead of Prost. A bit slower according to the traffic, or a bit faster according to the traffic. There's really nothing too much to worry about from Ayrton Senna's point of view at the present moment, with 17 laps to go, including the one that they're on. And you look at Alessandro Nannini in 5th position. Now look for Derek Warwick. That's the Benetton with the new Ford V8 engine. We have the sad news, incidentally, that Peter Collins, who was the tremendously popular, likeable and capable team manager of Benetton, has left them for reasons which are not entirely clear. And it's Gordon Message who's running the team. But the interest now, as far as Benetton is concerned, is can Alessandro Nannini, the Italian, in 5th position and in 6th position in the World Championship, keep back the hard-charging Derek Warwick? The man who used to drive for Renault, Derek Warwick, number 9 in the arrows. There is Ayrton Senna going through and lapping Emanuele Pirro, who is in 9th position. So Senna's now lapped everybody up to 8th position, and that is Stefan Johansson in 8th position. That is the Brazilian's next target. I know what he's going to say if I'm interviewing him after the race. It wasn't at all easy. It looks easy when you are as good as he is, but you've got these split-second decisions to make all the time about passing people and where to do it. Well, he's got a cushion of nearly 8 seconds between himself and Alain Prost. Mansell's making no impression on the Frenchman at the present moment. Boutsen's making no impression on Mansell. Nannini is making no impression on Boutsen. Nannini in 5th position. But you can see there that the gap between Nannini and Warwick is just over 2 seconds. And the fastest man on the course on lap 27 was Thierry Boutsen. So V10 Honda power leads and is in 2nd place. V12 Ferrari power, that of Nigel Mansell, in 3rd position. Then the V10 Renault Williams of Thierry Boutsen, the V8 Ford of Alessandro Nannini's Benetton, and the V8 Ford DFR of Derek Warwick's Arrows in 6th position. But in 7th place, it's Maurizio Gugelmin. 8th is Stefan Johansson. 9th is Pirro, so both the Benettons are well up. 10th position, Andrea De Cesaris in the Dallara with his teammate Cathy out of the race. 11th is Pierluigi Martini, 12th is Ivan Capelli. Car number 5. And you'll notice that it's no longer Red 5 as it was in Nigel Mansell's day, the very famous Red 5, which Nigel Mansell drove with such flair and success to win race after race for Williams when it was Honda powered, and he drove extremely well with the Judd engine last year, and that was Bertrand Gachot you saw tramping disconsolately back to the pits. It's a long way to go here. I don't know what's happened to the motorcyclist that was supposed to lift them all up, but it's lap 29 now. And you're looking at Thierry Boutsen going through the bus stop, as it is called, in third gear, exiting it to complete his 28th lap very shortly. Coming up to lap Ivan Capelli, who is in 12th position. We look back down the course as Alessandro Nannini in 5th place goes into La Source, and hopefully we'll see how close Derek Warwick is to him. That's the answer. 5th Nannini in the Benetton, 6th Warwick in the Arrows, down to Eau Rouge again at some 170 miles an hour, even in these dreadful conditions. Climbing the hill. Doesn't look steep, but if you have to walk up it, I can assure you that it is remarkably steep, and you feel very tired by the time you get to Les Combes, the right-hander that they're approaching now. They being Nannini, there he is, and he's 5 seconds behind Thierry Boutsen in 4th position. But seemingly, things are very static now. The cars, if they've gone this far in the race, are likely to go the rest of it, because if there were any reliability problems, they would have made themselves apparent by now, I would expect. And Ayrton Senna just comfortably pacing himself, matching Alain Prost lap time for lap time to the nearest 100th of a second at the moment, is leading by just under 8 seconds on the 29th lap, with Mansell 10 seconds behind Prost, despite the fact that he's lapping faster at the present moment than the Frenchman. Boutsen in 4th place, there he is. Alessandro Nannini 5 seconds behind him in 5th position. Then it's Derek Warwick 6th, Gugelmin 7th, Johansson 8th, Pirot is in 9th place, De Cesaris is 10th, Martini is 11th, and Capelli is in 12th place. And Ayrton Senna has lapped everybody up to Stefan Johansson in the Onyx in 8th place. And it's quite conceivable, actually, that Stefan Johansson, who has already scored World Championship points for Onyx in their first year of Grand Prix racing, by finishing 5th in France, will end up in the points here. Boutsen now up with Capelli, who is in 12th position. So Thierry Boutsen coming through to lap the march. And we've just had somebody rip past us into the pits. Oh, it's one of the Minardis. I wasn't able to spot who it was. It's Pierluigi Martini. Martini in for a new set of Pirellis. And Martini was in 12th position, but he was in 12th position only just ahead of Eddie Cheever. No, quite now, nearly half a minute. I tell a lie, I apologise. Nearly half a minute ahead of Eddie Cheever, so he shouldn't have lost his place. And there is the 3rd position man, Nigel Mansell, who looks as though he's going to finish not only in the points but on the podium again, and is once more the fastest man on the circuit with the fastest lap in the race, 2 minutes 13.5. So now, I wonder if Nigel can do anything about Alain Prost. He's 7 seconds behind the McLaren, and his last lap was 3 seconds faster than the McLaren. So if they both keep up their respective speeds at the present moment, he's going to be with Prost in a couple of laps. But as you've heard from Johnny Herbert, and you have heard from Martin Brundle, it may be feasible, indeed possible, to catch someone, but it is extraordinarily difficult to get past him, particularly when it's double world champion Alain Prost in a McLaren Honda. This looks like a replay of whatever happened to Martini in the Minardi. Oh, well, that was interesting. Ayrton Senna then is now on his 31st lap. Nigel Mansell through the bus stop. There's not all that much of a gap, you see. Prost is 10 seconds behind Senna. Mansell is now less than 7 seconds behind Prost, lapping in almost exactly the same time as Nigel Mansell, comes up to Pirro. Now, those are the race numbers at the bottom. Number 1 is Senna leading. Number 2 is Prost second. Number 27, there he is, Nigel Mansell in 3rd position. And while it may have stopped raining, it certainly hasn't disposed of very much of the water. There's quite a stiff wind blowing now. I can see the boughs on the trees opposite my commentary box moving quite a lot. But with all this spray hanging in the air and the high hills here almost piercing the cloud, the conditions are not, I think, going to improve in the 13 laps of this race that are still left, as Mansell comes up to Pirro in 9th position. That is always a danger point. Pirro, comparatively inexperienced in Grand Prix racing, must know that Nigel Mansell is through, keeps his line, lets the Ferrari through. And number 20, Emanuele Pirro, who's already driven in Hungary and France and Britain and crashed in Germany when he was in 4th place, and now in his 5th Grand Prix in 9th position. Senna leading, lap 31. Mansell, look at the lines of the Ferrari. There is gossip here in Belgium that John Barnard, the man who headed up the design team that produced this 640 Ferrari chassis, which is undoubtedly the best handling chassis in Grand Prix racing these days, may not, and I emphasise may not, be leaving Ferrari, which may, and I emphasise may, be joined by Alain Prost, and there is a real affinity between Prost and Berger, and if Prost does, Barnard, and if Prost does go to Ferrari next year, it would not surprise me one little bit to see John Barnard staying on. However, that's just gossip. Philippe Alliot, incidentally, in 15th position, now has got ahead of Jonathan Palmer, who's down into 17th position, and on lap 31, there are the respective positions. On the red dot is follow the bouncing dot. It's Ayrton Senna. The green one, Alain Prost, with about half the length of the Radion straight, no, 2/3 of the length of the Radion straight between 1st and 2nd places, which means 10 seconds, and that is light years in Grand Prix racing. Senna, who, I haven't heard it, but I'm told very often keeps up a sort of non-stop flow of patter from the cockpit, demanding from the pits all the time to know what is the gap between me and Alain, or whoever is behind him, or whoever is in front of him. And he's now coming up to lap Stefan Johansson in 8th position, and does so. Stefan Johansson, the Swedish driver. Steve Johnson, as he's known in British circles, because he's tremendously popular and speaks English so well it's really difficult to tell that he is not indeed English. And Ayrton Senna now on his way. He's lapped in, well, the only man who is faster than him on the circuit at the present moment is Nigel Mansell. And the gap between Mansell and Prost now, Prost 2nd, Mansell 3rd, with Senna there leading by 11 seconds. The gap between 2nd and 3rd is 5.5 seconds. And I know that watching this race will be one of the great characters in Grand Prix racing, Ken Sagar, who works for the Williams team. And sadly, Ken is in the John Radcliffe Hospital, having had a couple of operations. And this is from all of us in Grand Prix racing, Formula One, Ken, to say get well soon and join us again. We miss you. Ayrton Senna. La Source, the famous hairpin bend that you see so many still photographs of when you look at coverage of the Belgian Grand Prix. 2nd gear, about 70 miles an hour. He's up through 4th and up into 5th gear to Eau Rouge. Now he pops it into 6th gear up to Le Radion. But as you watch the leader, we will soon, I hope, be watching a battle for 2nd position because Mansell now is lapping consistently 1 second faster in the Ferrari than Alain Prost in second place, who is not losing time to Ayrton Senna there, Prost I'm talking about. So Mansell is gaining not only on Prost but also on Senna. He's lapping half a second faster than Senna, a second faster than Prost. Doesn't sound a lot, but it is in terms of Grand Prix racing. And the gap between Mansell and Prost is now down to just a whisker over 4 seconds as Ayrton Senna goes round Le Pouhon. We're looking down from the helicopter. Now you see Nigel Mansell. Hopefully, if the cameraman pulls out a bit, we'll see Alain Prost in front of him. And what a fantastic record Nigel Mansell has got since he joined Ferrari. First in Brazil, first in Hungary, second in France, second in Britain, third in Germany. He has not indeed finished off the podium, first, second or third, because he's had 5 failures to finish, and in none of those was he lower than 4th at the time he went out. So Nigel Mansell has taken to Ferrari like a duck takes to water, and he's just gone round in 2 minutes, 13.4 seconds. Now back onto the old course. There's Senna. Sorry, there's the McLaren. There is Alain, there is Nigel Mansell. Now we'll be able to look at the bus stop and see what the gap visually between Prost and Mansell is, and you see it. Now, what did I say? It was 4.2 seconds. They're coming through to complete the lap. Senna has already gone through. Prost has gone through now, and Mansell, as I talk to you, goes through now, and he is 3 seconds behind Prost. Closing, and he's just gone round. He's keeping up the pressure. He is now continually and consistently lapping 1 second faster than double world champion and world championship leader of 1989, Alain Prost. Let's watch the Ferrari. Le Radaillon, 6th gear. Look at the spray. That's Prost, who's going to be held up by Stefan Johansson in 8th position. That's going to give Mansell the chance really to close with the McLaren, because now we've got the twisty part of the circuit, but Prost is past. Mansell in 3rd place, challenging for 2nd. His teammate Gerhard Berger long since out of the Belgian Grand Prix, and I don't know why. We haven't had a message. But I can tell you that out of the race have gone René Arnoux, Johnny Herbert, Gerhard Berger, Alex Caffey, Stefano Modena, Michele Alboreto, Riccardo Patrese, Bertrand Cachot, Martin Brundle. That's the race leader, Ayrton Senna. Lap 34, 10 laps to go. 11.5 seconds lead. And Mansell has just again put up the fastest. No, the fastest man on the course at the moment is Andrea De Cesaris in 11th position, who's gone round in 2 minutes 13.2. And Senna looking for the dry line and finding it. You can see by the different coloration. De Cesaris, of course, has been into the pits. We saw him. He came in and got a new set of tyres. That's Senna now through the bus stop. We're looking back to see what the gap, which was 3 seconds between Prost and Mansell, is. There's Prost, there's Mansell. Behind Mansell is Stefan Johansson, so Nigel has overcome that problem. Ayrton Senna is on lap 35, victoriously now heading the Belgian Grand Prix, but Enzo Ferrari signed Nigel Mansell because above everything else he admires a man who goes for it. And my goodness, Nigel does, and my goodness, Nigel is going for it. This is Eau Rouge, 150 miles an hour, even in today's conditions. Now, is the Ferrari closing on the McLaren Honda visually? You're going to see Nigel Mansell in the same picture very, very, very soon. Down to Rivage. It may be that Alain has got a bit of a problem, but if so, it's not much of a problem because he's only lapping about 3/10 slower than race leader Ayrton Senna, who admittedly will probably be taking it comparatively easily, knowing that he's got a 12-second lead. And the order is Senna, Prost, Mansell. Boutsen still 4th, Nannini still 5th, Warwick is still 6th. In 7th position, it's Gugelmin. 8th is Johansson, who has been lapped. 9th is Pirot, 10th is Capelli, 11th is De Cesaris, 12th is Martini. Jonathan Palmer is in 16th place. And Nigel Mansell is continuing to close. His last lap was 1.2 seconds faster than that of Alain Prost. But where, if anywhere, is Mansell going to be able to muscle his way past the McLaren Honda? Out of the Liège corner, the lowest part of the course. Accelerating in 6th gear up to about 170 miles an hour. There's the dry part of the circuit. And they will soon be having to look for wet parts to drive on, because when the so-called wet tyres, with their heavy treads and grooving, start driving on dry track, they can very rapidly overheat and deteriorate, and it's getting visibly lighter and brighter. The sun is starting to come out. This is going to make things very, very difficult in the closing stages of the Belgian Grand Prix. We've got 8 laps to go. And Nigel Mansell was 1.8 seconds behind Prost, who knows the problem. Prost went round in 2 minutes 13.5, Mansell 2 minutes 13.3. But Nigel Mansell has now, of course, got this added incentive of actually seeing in front of him the car that he's trying to get by. He's come from out of sight with 9 laps to go. He's come from totally out of sight of the McLaren to very much in sight. And he's on 4 points for 3rd place at the present moment. Is it going to be 6 points for 2nd place? Senna leading by 11.5 seconds, no change there. Boutsen is now 28 seconds in 4th place behind Nigel Mansell there. Boutsen 4th. Nannini is 11 seconds in 5th place behind Boutsen. Warwick has dropped back and is now 8 seconds behind Nannini. There's the confirmation. Well, I've already hypothesized that Alain Prost in 2nd place, just ahead of Nigel Mansell, may be the Englishman's teammate at Ferrari next year. If so, no one would like it better than Nigel Mansell, who said the other day he would very much welcome Alain Prost in the Ferrari team. And without being in any way boastful about it, Nigel said he thought that Prost was the one man in the pit lane from whom he could still learn something. They get on extremely well together as friends. They both get on well, of course, with the Ferrari people, whom Prost knows well. But never mind the hypothesis, let's concentrate on the Belgian Grand Prix. Lap 37 now for Ayrton Senna, who's gone through, and lap 37 very shortly for Prost and Mansell. Let's see how their times compare. Prost 2:13.6, Mansell with the fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 13.007, and there you saw Mansell running very wide indeed there. He's really trying, setting about Alain Prost, who can see the Ferrari in his mirrors in this visibility. Now, there's Prost is coming up to lap somebody. I just caught a flash of it. You see the crowd egging the Ferrari on in Belgium as in everywhere else in the world. I think it's Jonathan Palmer that's been caught. Yes, it is. Jonathan Palmer has been caught and passed and moves on across Nigel Mansell's line. Mansell goes through, and now look how close it is. This is the battle for 2nd place on lap 37 of the Belgian Grand Prix, 44-lap race. Senna must win it with an 11.5 second lead, provided he just keeps going and takes his time and carefully passes the back markers. But what a scrap between double world champion Alain Prost and the man who has yet to win a world championship, but who has so many Grand Prix victories behind him, 15 already, Nigel Mansell. Look at it. part of the circuit. And you don't need a stopwatch now. You need a vernier gauge almost to tell the difference between Alain Prost in second place and Mansell just starting to take a look there. And Prost is going to need all his cool, all his craftsmanship, all his experience now, because it must be a fearsome sight to see the red Ferrari driven by Nigel Mansell large in your mirrors. And Mansell lapping significantly faster, 0.6 of a second, and that's quite a lot at today's speeds, faster than the McLaren Honda in front. Ayrton Senna is now into his 38th lap, as are Prost and Mansell. Senna lapping 2 minutes 14.4, Prost 2 minutes 14.3, Mansell 2 minutes 13.8, and now Mansell is in a... No, he's not. Over the curb, lost time and distance there. Just a tiny bit too eager, going out of La Source, up through the gears, using that semi-automatic gearbox to the full. Now, that's an interesting point. Nigel Mansell is now looking for the wet parts of the circuit, I think, in order to preserve his wet weather tyres, which may be in danger of overheating, now that the course is starting to dry out. 2 minutes 30, he was half a second faster than Alain Prost on the previous lap. We are on lap 38. Not far to go now. It's home and dry almost as far as Ayrton Senna is concerned. Boutsen is still 4th. Nannini is still in 5th position. Warwick is still 6th. Gutham in 7th. Johansson 8th. Pirro 9th. Capelli 10th. De Cesaris 11th. Martini in 12th position. Johansson in 8th place has been lapped by Ayrton Senna. And you can see the bright red lights shining at the back. That's a high-intensity rear light which the drivers put on when the visibility conditions are bad. And you can see the way that Mansell is ducking and diving about on the circuit now. V12, Ferrari 640, V10, McLaren Honda, MP4/5. Designed by the team headed by Neil Oakley, that's the McLaren. Designed by the team headed by John Barnard, that's the Ferrari. And there's virtually nothing in it. And rightly, the producer is concentrating on this, because this is the battle in the Belgian Grand Prix. Not so long to go now, 5 laps at the end of this one. And Mansell looks at the bus stop. No way he could get through there. And Prost is a fair gentleman driver. He's not going to use unfair tactics to keep Nigel back, but he's certainly going to use as much of the track as he's entitled to. He's got the racing line by virtue of the fact that he is ahead, but he's got a couple of tail-enders, and again Mansell does it. And I find it hard to believe that he's doing that deliberately. I wonder if... Well, you can see now that at the bottom of Eau Rouge, the corner there, as Prost comes up to lap the Minardi, and you've heard me say time and time again that this is the danger time for a car leading another one very closely, but Prost goes through, Mansell goes through right behind him. I can't see whether it's Luis Perez Sala, the Spaniard in the Minardi. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's Sala in the Minardi, who is in 17th position, who has just been lapped for the 3rd time by Prost and Nigel Mansell, who are on lap 39, as is Ayrton Senna. And Senna is actually the fastest man on the course now. He's not relaxing, he's not letting his concentration waver. 2 minutes 13.6, which is 0.6 of a second slower than Nigel Mansell's fastest lap of the race in 2 minutes 13 seconds. And Mansell has slowed down a bit, not because he couldn't go faster, I think, but simply because he can't find a way past Alain Prost. Alain Prost in his 146th Grand Prix. You see the Ferrari flags waving all around the course. Nigel won't see them. There's only one thing he's looking at, and that's the rear end of Alain Prost Ferrari, trying to find Alain Prost McLaren. trying to find a way through as they come up to the bus stop yet again on lap 39. Now they're about to lap Mauricio Gugelmin, I think, in the march, who is in 7th position. That's how quickly, yes it is. There is Gugelmin coming down to La Source in the very low-slung Adrian Newey designed Judd-powered march. And again, Mansell runs very wide. He loses time and distance every lap there. We must find out when we're talking to him after the race. He is picking up water there all the time, perhaps to cool his tyres. Now Prost has got the problem of getting past 7th place man Mauricio Gugelmin. He does it. Is Mansell going to be able to get through before the right-hander? Yes, the answer is yes. Nigel Mansell certainly isn't giving way. And it's not going to be quite so difficult if Mansell can only find a place to get by, because as you can see, no longer, as there was in the past for much of the race, there's an enormous ball of spray behind the car. And the car I'm talking about is Alain Prost's McLaren on lap 40, with laps 41, 42, 43 and 44 still to go, with Ayrton Senna a comfortable 11.3 seconds ahead of this battle and lapping in about the same, almost exactly the same time, to 1/10 of a second as the McLaren behind him and the Ferrari behind the McLaren. You see again Mansell looking for the wet. But if Mansell's got that problem, Prost must have it as well. A second place. Back again, now again up to the bus stop, and Mansell's had a look the last 3 laps to see if he could find a way through on the approach, but Alain Prost will know that and will be guarding his line as they come through to complete the 40th lap. The Ferrari flag's waving on the left. Left, right. Over the curb goes Prost. That will have unsettled him a bit. That will have given Mansell a chance just to ease up, perhaps a 10th of a second. Now down to La Source, coming up. And this is where Mansell runs wide every lap. For the last 5 or 6 laps, the Ferrari's gone very wide indeed. Is he going to do it again? Indeed he is, deliberately, over the curbing there. Rejoins where the tarmac joins the cinders. Fastest lap in the race, 2 minutes 13 seconds. Nigel Mansell in 3rd position. Can't do anything about getting any closer to Alain Prost, who's got the power. Ferrari have been working very hard on that V12 engine, but they still haven't got quite the power that the Japanese technicians are able to give the V10 Honda, the engine that Alain Prost has behind him. And Mansell's trying to make up for it by using the superior chassis capabilities, it is said. I say it is said because obviously I haven't driven either of them, and I wouldn't want a deputation from McLaren, but certainly the Ferrari is a beautiful handling motor car. Certainly it is on lap 41, and there's no point in telling you what the time gap is between them because it's a visual gap now that matters. And Senna is 11 seconds now ahead of this battle on his 41st lap. And all the time, of course, in this situation, the driver behind will be trying to work out a plan to get past the man in front. The man in front will be trying to match that plan with one of his own to keep the man behind him there. Round 11 of the 16-round World Championship, with Alain Prost, World Championship leader, really desperate to hold this 2nd position, because if he lost it and went down to 3rd position, he would lose 2 points. The gap between himself and the lead. And Mansell has a look again. He's really swarming all over the back of the McLaren. At the bus stop, yet again. And yet again, I presume, Mansell will go wide at La Source, and yet again he'll lose a dake. And that is the Lola there of Philippe Alliot with Michele Alboreto, long since out of the race. Now, Philippe Alliot, I don't know whether he's being pushed away or being pushed started. It doesn't affect the course of the race at all. Alliot was in 14th position, and Mansell has lost time and distance on this lap, which is the 42nd. And Senna still leads. In fact, Prost is now the fastest man on the course, and the gap between Prost and Senna has come down to 10.4 seconds. Prost having lapped in 2 minutes 12.5. I mean the fastest man on the course at the moment. And indeed the fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 12.5 by Alain Prost, which is half a second faster than Nigel Mansell's previous fastest lap. And it looks as though the podium is once again going to be occupied by Senna, Prost and Mansell. But who's going to be standing on the second and third steps? Not much doubt about who's going to be standing on the highest one, with Senna now on his 42nd lap. 2 laps to go at the end of this one. 10.5 seconds lead. He's matching the lap times of Prost and Mansell almost exactly. And my God, what a scrap. Look at this. The race order as you watch the battle for second and third places between Prost and Mansell, who got Senna 10.5 seconds in front of them. It's still Thierry Boutsen 4th, Nannini is still in 5th position, Derek Warwick is still in the points in 6th place, Gugelmin is 7th, Johansson is 8th, Pirro is 9th, De Cesaris is 10th, in 11th place is Martini, 12th is Capelli. Again, Mansell closes up on the McLaren at the bus stop. Again, he can't do anything about it. There's absolutely no way you can get through there. Ayrton Senna has just put up his fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 12.89, having completed his 42nd lap. He's only got this and the next one to go to achieve his 5th Grand Prix victory of 1989, to give himself a maximum 9 points. You can see that the course is almost dry on the approach to La Source, and you can see that seemingly it's only going to be a do-or-die effort on one of the corners that will take Nigel Mansell through into second position. Took a look as they came up to Les Combes there. The Prost knows exactly what's happening. He knows where Mansell will try to take him. And Mansell's got to try and build up momentum and slingshot his way past the McLaren somehow. They're both lapping faster than Senna, but not enough. Faster than Senna, and Mansell runs very wide, loses a bit of distance. Two absolute masters matching move for move around this 4.3-mile circuit, the greatest and most picturesque circuit in the Grand Prix series. It's one of the oldest, although it's been reduced in length from the original very long one to its current 4.3 miles, and it's one of the very few Grand Prix circuits which is public roads. The others being street circuits, of course, like Monaco and Phoenix and Adelaide, the last Grand Prix of the year in Australia. But Mansell now on his 43rd lap. Senna will soon be starting his 44th, last and victorious lap. And they are off the new part of the course, onto the old part of the course. 6th gear, 175 miles an hour. There goes Ayrton Senna into the bus stop. 10 seconds ahead of the battle for second place. There it is. And it looks a bit closer than 10 seconds to me, but I'm sure that's because Senna is pacing himself, if I'm right. And Ayrton Senna is about to start, indeed, has started his 44th and last lap. And as we watch Prost and Mansell fighting for that second place, I cannot see how Nigel Mansell, who's done everything in his power and the Ferrari's power to find a way past Alain Prost's McLaren, is going to succeed. But who knows? However, in the meantime, Ayrton Senna is now within a couple of miles of winning his 5th Grand Prix. There he is, of 1989, to get another 9 points in the World Championship to close the gap between himself and Alain Prost from 14 to 11, and Mansell going for it yet again. again, Nigel Mansell. I would never accuse Nigel Mansell of conceding anything, but he's got very little distance now to get past Alain Prost. They're coming now, once again, round the left-hander at Luxembourg, on now to the right-hander at Rome corner, on to Liège, the lowest part of the course, then into the sixth gear section which leads up to Blanchimont, and Nigel Mansell's just got about 3/4 of a mile to go now. Is he going to finish third? Is he going to finish second? There seems little doubt about who's going to win, because Senna, although the lead has come down to 8 seconds, is almost home. There he is. No, it's less than 8 seconds now. It's going to be a perilously close finish between Senna, the winner designate, Prost there in second position. Nigel Mansell in third place. Is going to be a real grandstand ending to the Belgian Grand Prix. Here they come into the bus stop for the last time. There's only a few hundred yards to go now. Senna is going to win. Prost is going to be second. Mansell is going to be third. Out of the last corner, the McLaren team cheer their man home. Ayrton Senna has won the Belgian Grand Prix. Alain Prost has finished in second place. Nigel Mansell has finished in third position. There is the fourth place man, Thierry Boutsen. There were only 1.8 seconds between the winner, Ayrton Senna, and the third place man, Nigel Mansell, as they crossed the line. There are all the Honda people, obviously, and justifiably overjoyed. Now, how does that affect the World Championship? Well, it means that Alain Prost is still leading as Thierry Boutsen comes home in fourth position. Senna in second place, 11 points behind him. Mansell still in third place. Patrese is fourth. Boutsen is in fifth position. And Alessandro Nannini is in sixth place. And with another 15 points, of course, McLaren for first and second places have increased their constructors' lead with 113 points against the Williams second on 45 points. There is Jonathan Palmer coming home, and all these men have been lapped. Senna has won, Prost second, Mansell third, Boutsen in fourth place. There is Alessandro Nannini finishing in fifth place. Where is Derek Warwick? There he is. Derek Warwick, the Englishman, takes the last Drivers' Championship point, sixth place, 1 point, and the closest race between first...
There's the two McLarens, a thumbs up, of course, for Senna. Let's have a confirmation of the result off the official caption. Senna, 1.3 seconds only at the finish. Prost, Mansell, Boutsen. Boutsen some 50 seconds behind that leading group. Nannini and Warwick, super Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorsham. Terrible conditions early on in the race. It started to dry out. We saw Nigel Mansell driving all over the racetrack to try and get past. 7th Gugelmin, 8th Johansson, not a bad result for him. 9th Martini, 10th Pirot, and the 2nd Benetton, De Cesaris and Cabelli. So the slowing down lap, getting ready for the victory rostrum celebrations. Marshals wave the flags to congratulate the drivers. Let's look at that championship position coming up on the caption as we see the McLaren. Prost now is 62 points, Senna closing 9th, 51 points, Mansell 38. Those three are well out in front now. Patrese 25, Boutsen 20, Nannini 14. 62 to 51. It's anybody's championship between the two McLaren drivers. Prost probably going to have to discard points. Senna looking strong for his second consecutive World Championship. Still that mist in the trees. The constructors' points, 113 for McLaren Honda. Williams Renault 45, Ferrari 38, Benetton Ford 19, Arrows 12, Tyrrell still with just 10. Not a good day for them today. As the cars come back towards the pits. Julian, great race. Thanks for joining us again.
ensemble, eh bien on additionne, comme il se doit, on additionne pleinement les points des deux écuries. Roland Brunsera, de lui, a quelques problèmes à faire arrêter maintenant les acteurs pour un autre tour. Il fait un signe pour qu'il prolonge le tour par l'extérieur et non pas par l'intérieur des stands. Eh bien bravo, comme ça on peut encore davantage féliciter la rentrée maintenant dans la zone. Elle est là bien délimitée dans la zone à l'intérieur des paddocks. C'est là que l'on va techniquement vérifier les voitures. Elles doivent rentrer par l'entrée des 24 heures, évidemment, pour rejoindre le département technique qui se trouve là. Et donc pour le contrôle technique après le podium, tout cela se passera là dans cette zone centrale de notre côté. Nous allons tout simplement vous rappeler le verdict complet. Vous voyez les voitures qui rentrent là, le verdict complet de ce Grand Prix de Belgique qui est donc terminé par 15 pilotes au total, 15 pilotes qui sont dans l'ordre. Premier Senna, deuxième Prost à 1 seconde et 304 millièmes. Attendons voir l'ensemble. Non, nous allons voir voilà, le tableau. Senna devant Prost, puis Mansell, 54 secondes, 418 millièmes de retard pour Thierry Boutsen, la 4e place. Nannini, le 5e. Warwick, le 6e. 7e place pour Gutjelmin, 8e pour Johansson, 9e pour Martini, 10e place pour Pirot, De Cesaris, Capelli, Grouillard, Palmer et Perez. Ça là, le tour le plus rapide à l'actif de Alain Prost, et tout ça dans le contexte du tout dernier tour. Donc consolation pour Prost, la vitesse la plus élevée lors de ce Grand Prix, le tour le plus rapide, mais la victoire, eh bien la victoire revient, elle, à Ayrton Senna. Prost occupe toujours la première place du championnat du monde, 62 points à 51. Mansell, 38 points, Patrese et Boutsen dans cet ordre, la 4e et 5e, 5 petits points d'écart, 25 pour Patrese, 20 points pour Thierry Boutsen. Excellent bilan de saison aussi pour Thierry Boutsen, et tir groupé des deux Williams. Renault devant, eh bien c'est la cavalcade, c'est encore et toujours le fait de retrouver les deux McLaren Honda aux deux premières places aujourd'hui, Senna et Prost, que l'on attend d'ici quelques secondes sur le podium de ce Grand Prix de Belgique pour mettre un terme à l'ensemble de ce reportage, avec peut-être aussi le témoignage des trois premiers. En tout cas, Christian Lahaye nous a quittés déjà il y a quelques minutes, alors que le président Jean-Marie Balestre, lui, apparaît sur le podium, président de la Fédération internationale du sport automobile, la seule autorité requise sur le podium pour féliciter le tout premier, avec les autorités belges bien sûr, mais le comte de Liedekerk, le président du Royal Automobile Club de Belgique, va pouvoir remettre sans doute la coupe au deuxième, au troisième, en tout cas serrer lui aussi la main à tout le monde. Mais c'est un protocole extrêmement rigoureux, extrêmement minuté, et qui est évidemment dicté par les nécessités de reportage en direct à la télévision et les interviews à réaliser par l'ensemble de nos confrères. La température, toujours 13 degrés, toujours un petit peu d'humidité, mais dans ce contexte, eh bien, on a vécu un Grand Prix assez passionnant, un Grand Prix un petit peu inattendu, et on peut leur adresser des bravos pour leur courage, pour leur audace, la bise. Eh bien, Nigel Mansell, là, se trouve très familier avec Jean-Marie Balestre. Il ne l'a pas fait. Il ne l'a pas fait avec le comte Gérard de Liedekerk, mais maintenant on continue à s'expliquer. Merci, dit Jean-Marie Balestre, pour le spectacle. À droite, bien sûr, et les félicitations. Maintenant, c'est avec Ayrton Senna. Ayrton Senna, le vainqueur de ce Grand Prix de Belgique. 19e victoire, 37 pôles. Voilà, à l'occasion de son 89e Grand Prix. Alors, est-ce que Alain Prost ne veut pas venir sur le podium? Est-ce que Alain Prost ne veut pas se trouver à côté de celui auquel il ne parle plus? Venez, mes amis, dit Jean-Marie Balestre, ça suffit comme ça, donnez-vous la main, embrassez-vous, vous aussi, montez sur le podium et soyez heureux comme nous qui avons pu vivre cela de près. Le premier, c'est Senna au milieu. À gauche de votre image, c'est le deuxième, c'est évidemment Alain Prost. À droite, c'est Nigel Mansell. Et puis derrière au classement, c'est évidemment Thierry Boutsen, 4e, Nannini 5e et Derek Warwick à la 6e place pour les points de ce Grand Prix. Eh bien, je crois que nous avons vécu un long week-end ensemble. Ce n'est pas terminé. Vous avez encore droit à la compétition.
ある意味スタートレース強行で始まりましたけれども、アイトン・セナがホンダエンジンの50勝目を飾ったということになりますよね。後藤監督がおっしゃってたんですが、スペック5エンジン投入しました。聞いたらば、いや今宮さんスペック50って言ってよって言ってましたけどね、50勝の意味で達成です。
まあしかしこの日はマクラーレンホンダ本当に万々歳の結果だったでしょうね。
しかしセナとプロスは一切目も合わせ
ませんがね、マンセルもまあ自分自身いい仕事したなという。そういう疲労感が
広がったり縮まったりの中で、あれだけ追い込んで、まあ最後は逃げ切られましたけれどもね、いいバトルでした。
エディ・チーバーが一つの大きなポイントにもなりましたけれどもね。F1 レジェンズ、今回は1989年第11戦ベルギーグランプリをご覧いただきました。
Also Honda's 50th in Grand-Pri racing. Boutsen celebrated his 100th Grand Prix in the points from Nannini and Warwick. But as far as President Balestre was concerned, the battle of the race had been between Prost and Mansell for second place. Prost, however, was not entirely happy with the way things had gone.
I was a bit disappointed because of this problem, because the car was quite good, and I was very surprised I could stay behind Ayrton with no big effort or not taking too much risk. I don't like these conditions, so I'm quite happy to finish second. But it's not bad. We had a nice fight also with Nigel at the end, so it's not a bad race.
Alan quite rightly made up his mind. He wanted 6 points. I was trying desperately to get the 6 from him, but his car was just a little bit quicker in places where it mattered. We came close once or twice to nipping by, but then the car got a little bit bigger. But no problem, very fair, and for me a very nice race.
You seem to be using all of the road at the end, and in some cases all of the road and more.
Yeah, well that's what it's there for. Alan's a great driver, so is Ayrton, and you can't pass Alan or Ayrton unless you try very hard, so you have to try hard.
Senna's win brought him within 11 points of championship leader Prost, although the latter had now finished 10 of the 11 races in the points and would soon have to start dropping results, something which Senna would probably not have to do. McLaren were on the verge of clinching the Constructors' Championship, having more than twice as many points as second-place Williams.
Was very tough. To come for overtaking maneuvers with other cars was impossible. I see nothing, and just going behind a cloud of water, and unbelievable, really danger, and as I said, I hope we don't have to face such a race again.
Alan and I had a good dice at the end. It's just that the McLaren and Alan became twice the size on the last few laps.
Now, lap after lap, you were running wide at La Source, and it was a bit of a mystery to me. What was the plan?
No plan, just braking very late to try and get close to Alan. So going through a Rouge, I could sort of slingshot. I was a bit quicker through there, and then maybe I could attack up the straight. But as you probably saw on television, I could just slingshot enough just to stay with the same power. But I just had to try and push as much as I could.
Well, after 2 magnificent Grand Prix in Hungary 2 weeks ago and in Belgium today, we look forward now to the Italian Grand Prix in 2 weeks at Monza, because that is the home of Ferrari. And that could give Nigel Mansell the opportunity for his 3rd Grand Prix win this year. Join us on Grand Prix to watch it.